Subscribe and click on the bell icon to be the first to see the latest videos.
So I am Arihant, as Alisha mentioned. So currently I am working with Vodafone Idea Limited as a general manager, taking the lead on big data and analytics practice. Earlier to that, I was in a fintech. So I was in a bank where I was doing the work of machine learning in the credit card domain and the lending domain. So specifically, I will talk about that work and what kind of the use cases and how we are leveraging the machine learning, AI, and all this kind of a technology to for the lending, for risk management, as well as for a lot of operations. So my main agenda will be that only, that I will try to cover in this session. But before I move on this particular use cases and how we are solving different use cases in the fintech, I just wanted to ask you a quick thing. How many of you have heard the word machine learning? Okay, I think good. Okay, so it's like a lot of hype around it, a lot of people talking about it, but it's a simple science. It's like you can simple set an analogy like this: the way we grow, like just a baby born, and then after that, as a parents as well as the whole ecosystem, we started teaching the child, right? Small thing, that this is a glass, this is a bottle, this is your uncle, this is your mosi, and so on and so forth, right? This is the way we train the mind of a baby, right? And then we grow up and we become a mature person, and then we do all other things in our life. This is the same way we treat machines. Like, for example, as you all are coming from the finance background as such, like let's say if I go and apply for a credit card on any of the bank side, what they do, they access my credit scores, or they have their own scorecards, machine learning based scorecard. But what in the background, what they are doing, they have hundreds of data points about you, from which location you are coming in, what's your age, from which college you graduated from, are you a salaried or business customer, okay, and so on and so forth. And if we talk about credit bureau like CIBIL and XYZ credit bureau, they got to know about your profile, that how many personal loan you have taken, and so on and so forth. So in summary, what they are doing, they are collecting a number of data points about you, and they are making a decision. Like let's think in that way. Okay, let's say there is no machine learning, then how it will happen? There will be a team of 100, 200, 500 people who is sitting and checking all this thing, and then giving decisions subjectively that okay, Arihant is the right person to give the loan. Let's say X person is not a right person to give the loan, right? But think about it. If there are 100 applications coming in a day, then it's possible. If there is in a day, let's say 1 lakh plus applications or 5 lakh plus applications are coming, then as a humans, it's not possible for us. Either we can do one thing, like we hire lakhs of people in the company for doing this job, but that's not feasible, and that's where machine learning come into the picture. Now, as the initial analogy which I have said, how we grew up, how we learn the things, this is the same way we try machine to learn all these things. So, for example, let me put it in a very, again, in the credit card or in the fintech terminology only. If I give you a simple example, let's say the guy with a CIBIL score of 800 and the guy with a CIBIL score of 600, whom will you lend the loan? Easy question, right? 800, right? Now, okay, this is one of the variable, right? It might be possible that that person have defaulted a lot on the different types of loan in the way, if I go like, let's say 5 years back, if I study the behavior of the customers, let's say 10 years down the line, I will see that some of the customer who have the CIBIL score good this time, they might have defaulted in the past, right? So on the basis of only single parameter, I cannot take that decision. That's where machine learning comes into the picture. So what we do when we do machine learning in general, we try to train the machines in such a way that they can consume huge amount of data and then take the decision about the person. Like the typical example which I have taken, I will extend it. Let's say I have a more data points for that customer. Okay, what is the type of handset person is using? Like it do make sense, right? The someone who is using an iPhone versus someone, so I'm not differentiating on the basis of that, but just I'm putting, this is one more data point which we have to decide. The other data point would be the salary of the person. Other data point would be how many loans person have taken, right? Other data point would be out of the loan taken, how many times he have defaulted. Other data point can be how many times person pay after the due date, not before the due date. Like I'm just trying for you guys to relate it with the real life things which we are seeing. Like this is the real, if you are using credit card, and I hope you must be using, or all of you must be using a credit card, these are the things we as a bank, or let's say any fintech company, try to analyze before making a decisions about the customer, whether they want to lend it or not lend it. Okay, so though I'm not talking deep dive into the machine learning, but this is what I was just trying to explain. We have huge amount of historical data about each and every person who is sitting here, and then we as a data scientist generate a lot of features. As I'm saying that handset is one of the feature for us, then there are a lot of features which we generate from the data which is available, and then after that we train complex machine learning models, which I'm not going to go very deep in today, but they are all decision tree based models. There are so complex models which help in decision making. Like this is what we do every day. Like for example, today I started from Lower Parel and I want to come here. Okay, my office is in Lower Parel. I started from Lower Parel. When I sit into the cab, my first question to myself is which route I will take. This is the exercise which we do every day, right? And how we optimize. We think about the multiple ways. Okay, this is the time. At this time, there will be a rush on this road. There will be no rush on this road, and so on and so forth, right? We as a humans take a lot of decisions, might be subconsciously or subconsciously, and we want machines to learn all these things and take the decision on behalf of ourselves. That is what we call it as a machine learning, where the machine learns and machines start giving the decision. And just to throw some numbers for you, we have processed a lot of applications. So I have built a lot of credit-based scorecards in my previous organization, where we have automated a lot of things, because when you have a machine learning model of this kind, you can do the real-time scoring, real-time approval, real-time denial, which of course helps in improving the customer experience.
So in that example of traffic,
Yeah.
so when you get into the car and switch on your today in the touch screen,
Yeah.
the Google map,
Yes.
day 2, day 3, day 1, day 2, it shows you one route.
Yeah.
Day 3, it may show you a different
Yeah.
route because it's learning.
That's machine learning. Yeah, that's machine learning. Yeah, because Google, okay, so Google, all the products of Google are free, right? And why they are free, I think we know why they are free. Because we are sharing our data with them, consciously or subconsciously, but we are sharing everything with them. And that's where they are leveraging all this data to generate products for us. Though this is helpful also, right? As gentleman said, that machine learning is, they are observing the patterns of the data every day. Okay, you are taking this route, day 1, day 2 you have taken this route, day 3 they might recommend a new route as per the data they have collected over that complete place, that okay, this is the route which have a less probability of a traffic. And that's where they recommend. I think the simple example might be the Amazon, right? You guys must have gone on Amazon and shopped it, right? When you shop for something, they started showing you some recommendations. That's a typical case of a recommendation. That's a typical case of a machine learning, where they have a lot of data about you and they start recommending basis of your interest. That okay, this guy wanted to buy this guy might wanted to buy this. And that's how they increase their sales. So machine learning is everywhere nowadays, whether you see e-commerce, whether you see fintech, whether you see banks, whether you see telecom, whether you see healthcare, anywhere you just name it, that's where you will find a machine learning. Okay, so I will I don't want to go deep dive into the PPT much, but because the content is heavy, but I have a very less time, so I will just come to the targeted point of finance as such. So one of the use cases, as I mentioned about, is this thing, that risk lending. I think a lot of decision as of today, if you talk about banks or if you talk about a lot of fintechs, they have the critical problem of whom to lend, right? Now that's where we use machine learning in different way. Like for example, as I mentioned about bureau data. Now bureau data is no science. Because bureau data is available. Now let's talk about the customer who don't have a bureau data. Let's say, 4 years back, I don't have any credit card at that time. I was like NTC customer. They call it as an NTC customer, new to credit customer. Now how you will make a decision for me if you don't have any data points for me? But again, we can use all this different data points like demographics. We have used what we have done when we are building this model. We have divided Mumbai. I'm just taking an example in Mumbai, as we are sitting in Mumbai, divided into multiple locations as per the risk. So we have created our own risk zones, as per the latitude and longitude, and use this information to predict that if the person is coming from this part of a geography or this part of a Mumbai, and we have gone much granular than the pin codes, because pin codes cover a very large geography. So we have, when we are building this model for risk for the customer who have not taken any loans in the past, and if as a bank I have to decide whether I will give the loan to this customer or not, we have used demographics in a way that we have gone granular in the areas, and we have tried to figure out that how much risk, how much customer from this particular location is coming and buying a loan and defaulting on this. We use this as an information to predict for the customer who have no background on the bureaus. Because I think like if I don't take any loan, if I don't take any credit card, I don't have any history on bureau. That's where it's very difficult, and that's where all the fintech which is coming in last 2 years we have seen they are targeting this population which don't have a CIBIL scores, and that's where they are using heavily machine learning. Like I can name n number of startups which are using a lot of machine learning and then trying to give you like lend you the money, even deciding what amount they wanted to lend in. So this is one of the typical case in the banks as well as the fintech where they are using this. The other popular case is the automation. Like for example, a lot of document processing. I think some gentleman here was talking about GST documents. So in the previous past, we have developed the softwares where you just put in the PDFs and machine, so they call it an OCR. You might have heard about this term. They extract all the information from the PDF or the images and they put it in some software, some databases automatically. You don't need any human to do it. Generally what happens in the banks, if we go for a saving account opening or let's say for a credit card buying, you go and fill in the form, and then after that someone will manually feed it into the computers. But if you have the images or if you have the PDFs, machine learning is capable of reading from the PDFs as well as the images and extract the text from it and dump it in some of your databases. That is the second application where you can use machine learning to do a lot of automation in your organization. Whatsoever organization you are in, you must be processing a lot of documents, right? And this is the typical thing which we have used in our previous organization where we wanted to lend a customer quickly. So what we have done is we have given them an option of uploading the documents on our website. In the real time, we are extracting that information using machine learning. And then after that, deciding that whether we wanted to give the loan to that customer or not. So a lot of operations hustle in the organization is being solved using this. Is the second big area on the machine learning side. I just do a quick check of time, like I have how much time available? 5 minutes, right? Yeah. So accordingly, then I will talk. So this is the second area. Third area, when you lend the money to someone, then there is a lot of governance which is needed to get that money out. Like if I just give you the life cycle of any loan or credit card, the banks talk in the terms of the buckets internally. The customer is not aware about it. Let's say you have taken some like credit card, and if you have not paid the first bill which has been generated, then if you don't pay it between 0 to 29 days, they call it as a bucket 0. If you are not paying after 29 days also, they call this as a bucket 2. And that's how they write off their loans. Now, as a data scientist, one of the critical problem which came from business to us is, can you predict that we have given a loan to this set of customers or credit card for this set of customer? Can you predict out of this set of customer, which customer have a high probability or high propensity of not to pay their credit card bills or their EMIs? This again comes a very, very critical exercise, and I think this was happening. It's not like that machine learning is here, that's why we are doing this. Risk managers are doing this thing whole their life, right? They are accessing each and every customer, analyzing it, but it's all subjective, and sometimes it's not possible to scale. If you think about the big banks who have like 50% of the portfolio on the credit card, it's not possible to scale without using this kind of technologies, right? So that's where all these models come into the play. We build all this machine learning model again by reading all the history of a customer with us as well as outside to understand that what is the probability. So I can assign a score to all of you. And I mean it, like whatsoever the customer base we have, we can assign a probability between 0 to 1, where 1 is the highest probability to default and 0 is the lowest probability to default, to all the customer which is present in my base. And how this information is helpful for the bank, because they can take a proactive measures. Because if they know that this is a set of a customer who have a high propensity, high probability of not to pay, they will start putting their field collection agents on the floor for these guys from very early stages so that they won't lose the money on this. So we have created n number of this kind of models to save the money which we might have lost if we won't have taken a proactive action. So all this machine learning thing is we are using it for doing the proactive actions. The other actions, the other vertical in which we have used in telecom as well as in other organization which I have worked with is the marketing. Marketing is a huge potential after using this. Like for example, if I have to sell something to you, okay, if I have to come and sell something to you, I should know your interest, right? I think, okay, let me put it in this way. How many of you use Netflix? Okay, you must have heard about Netflix, okay, right? What is the difference between Netflix and Amazon Prime Video? Amazon also provides a video, right? And Netflix also provide a video. Let's say Hotstar for that matter. Hotstar is very common because of cricket, right? So Hotstar versus Netflix. What is the difference you feel? Anyone want to answer this?
I think Netflix tracks your interests and then promotes or shows you have watched this, therefore this could be of interest.
Right, this is a one point, good point. Any other?
Second,
Yeah. You want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
second thing is I think when you're watching something and then you have to stop in between and then you restart, it will take you 10 or 15 seconds before it starts, which means the mind they're orienting you to where you left and then bringing it, which I don't think is there in others.
Great, good point. Yeah, you were saying something. Yeah, content is other thing, right? Now, one point he said that how Netflix know your interest, right? And how they recommend you. Like if we all open the apps on Netflix, you will see a different thing, I will see a different thing, you will see a different thing. This is again a machine learning. And why? This is again, they wanted to engage the customer more and more. The same analogy applies to all the businesses, whether in bank or whether in telecom or whether in any other market. We want to sell to the customer. Now we are using all this data about the customers to figure out their interest, that what they will buy, who will buy the plan of unlimited 199 versus 399. All this science we are using to predict that which customer will buy what, and then we are doing a specific campaigns to target that audience. So that's how the marketing is the fourth important vertical where we are using a lot of machine learning. So I think I will end here. Like I know this is a bit stretched after 5, but if you have any other questions right now, we can take that up now. Yeah.
You have a finance product called M-Pesa. If you can share some insights out of that experience in India.
Okay, so I'm not associated. Okay, I'm in Vodafone Idea, but I'm not, directly working with M-Pesa. And I'm sure you must have heard in the news that M-Pesa is no more now. Company have decided to, move away from that. So I cannot comment much on that. I don't have any insights on that because I'm more on the telecom side rather than the M-Pesa side, and both are different entities. Yeah.
So we have like a proprietary software, that we are a fintech player as well. We have a proprietary software which has been in existence for more than a decade now.
Okay.
What's the first logical step if you want to implement machine learning to derive some meaningful conclusions about the behavior, the predictive analysis basically of
Sure.
our merchants and our eventual customers?
Sure. Okay. Good question. I think very basic and very good question, and I can relate to it. So the first and foremost steps to collect data. First, and like I will repeat myself, first and foremost is to start collecting the data, because in a lot of fintech companies, so like I'm in touch with few of them, they are consulting, and what I see that they collect the data only for their operational, I would say operational MIS things, that okay, this are 4-5 data points we need because this is how we want to run the business. But if you wanted to scale it up, the first and foremost thing is to collect the data, more and more data about the customer, and start with descriptive analytics first. Rather than going for the predictive first, start simple analysis after collecting the data. Simple analysis like bivariate, cohort analysis, and all very simple analysis, gain insights from your data. And once you have like at least 1 lakh data points in your system, then you can think of about doing any kind of a predictive analytics on the top of it. But the mindset, the mindset, so because it's about the mindset, how you collect the data, because a lot of fintechs which are starting, they are thinking that this data might not be relevant for us for operational running the business. But that data point might be very, very important when you will generate all this predictive analysis later. Okay, like as I mentioned, that does the handset have any correlation with the risk of a customer? What do you think? Does handset play a role that whether the person will default on the loan or not? What do you think? Anyone of you think, like, does the handset which I am carrying have any correlation with the default, whether I will default on credit card or not?
Certainly, it gives some data sets about that. So if somebody is using a premium phone, so then it tends to that they won't default on these parameters.
Correct. So some of the correlation is there, right? But see, we say as this, that until unless, if data is speaking something, then there are a lot of subjective biases we as a human is. But in the recent organization I have worked with, I have proved a lot of people wrong when I analyze the data. And even myself, I am shocked sometimes. Oh, I can never think about it, that okay, this handset has some correlation with the default of a customer. But when we have deep dive into this data, we have find out that this type of information is lying in the data. We just have to torture the data enough so that we get all this insight, and then we can use these insights. Sorry. So just to summarize on this, collect more and more data, start with descriptive analytics, and then you can go ahead and start with predictive analytics. That is what my answer is.
Again, from the GDPR perspective, it is advised to collect as low data as possible because on need basis, of course. So I hope when you talk about collect as more as data, it's not of a personal information in nature.
Okay, good, you have bring this up. So okay, again, if you are taking on consent of customer, and if the customer is sharing all this information with a consent, then I think we should collect that data and we should use that data for the benefit of the customer. Okay, so of course, falling under a GDPR only, that is what I mean to. I'm not saying any other data point which doesn't fall under the GDPR scheme. So I mean by that only, but only thing which I'm saying that sometimes we think that, let's say, one more data point I will throw to you, age. Does age of a customer have anything to do with the risk? You might say no, but it is. It is. So there are this kind of simple data points, which you can further analyze and then, figure out that they might be helpful to you. But again, I'm talking in the premise of GDPR. I'm not talking anything against it. Yeah.
We are listening from morning that there is a lot of scope in data sciences. So I have two questions. First, can you suggest any courses which we can do at this age so that we can do something in data science?
Sure.
And second question is for our young ones who are they just started their graduation. So any good courses which they can do, because there is a lot of scope.
Sure. Okay, let me answer that. Okay, so first of all, just wanted to say I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. By choice, I choose this profession. So I've done my engineering in mechanical and then learned over last 5-6 years to get into this industry. So the first question will answer with this analogy here, that anyone can do data science because it's a simple science, simple logic, which anyone can learn. There's a very simple, I won't say simple, but yeah, it's a very logical and simple thing which you can anyways do. Now coming what courses you do, so there are like a lot of free courses available on the websites like Coursera, EDX, and Udacity for that matter. Three, like sites I know. Coursera, if you go, there are like tons of courses on data science. Start with basic courses on data science. Learn, and if you don't know coding, don't be scared. Do all this thing in Excel, because Excel is the first step to analyze the data. Running a pivots, doing a cohort analysis. There's a basic thing you can start with your data, whatsoever data you have. Okay, and then after that you can gradually move to programming languages like Python, R, and other programming languages which are very famous in data science, which we as a hardcore data scientist work day in and day out. But on Coursera, if you see, there are like basic analytics courses. If you just search in over there that basic data analytics courses, you will find a lot of courses. You can start with, there is one famous course which you wanted to write, you can write from Andrew Ng. He's a chief data scientist of Baidu. So he has created one course on machine learning which you can go and go through it. If you go through it, that complete course on Coursera, you are like done with that. There's a very, very good course, and he's the person who created this whole wave of machine learning in the industry. He's the person because of him, a lot of college students learn the machine learning because of that course. So that course, I have a very deep respect about that course. So you can have a look to that course and start your journey.
What about courses for young generation?
So this is the one, like I mentioned. So Coursera, EDX and Udacity have tons of courses on everything. Machine learning, even the deep topics on the machine learning, natural language processing, audio mining, video mining, image captioning. A lot of courses on the this websites, which are free. Yeah, they are free. If you need a certificate, then you need to pay for it. Otherwise, learning is free. You can go and audit that courses. So I've completed close to 70-80 courses on these websites, and they are fantastic courses because the professors from the US come and like online and teach you. Like the professor from Harvard, the professor from Stanford. So you are sitting here in your room and attending the quality education. So you can go and have that videos there. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you so much, Aryan.